Hello everyone, my name is Michael Pickens. I'm a libertarian activist, author of the book Libertarian Leadership, which you could download for free at libertarianleadership.org. I've created the following video as a training for libertarian candidates and activists to teach one way to cultivate new volunteers and donors. Now, there's many ways to bring in new volunteers and donors. The method that I'm about to teach just happens to be the most effective for me. So as we get started here, we've got to understand what I mean when I say cultivate. So cultivate means to prepare the soil for raising crops and also grow and care for. So the example of growing plants is a great analogy for the similar process of bringing in new volunteers and new donors. So this video, I'm going to be talking about cultivating ideas, a positive vision, the concept of leaving a legacy, and interpersonal relationships. So I'm equating cultivating to recruiting and training new activists to join us and become an integral part of our team. So we're going to be talking briefly on the concept of leaving a legacy. Now, a legacy is something that is handed down from an ancestor or predecessor, handed down from one generation to the next. So we have a choice of what kind of legacy we will leave for future generations. Is it going to be a legacy of authoritarianism, oppression, burdensome regulation, and economic depression, or a legacy of liberty, prosperity, creativity, and unmatched innovation? Right? What will we be known for or remembered by? Will we be remembered by our long stints on the couch, or will we be known for the actions we took to create a society based on true liberty and justice for all? Right? A society based on self-ownership and the non-initiation of force. Now, I'm going to assume that we all want to leave a positive legacy. Now, to do that in the political realm, we need to gain political profit. Now, I'm not talking about gaining political favors or corruption or cronyism or anything like that. I'm talking about the three metrics that I use to gauge any level of political success. So the first gauge is volunteers. Right? We have to know how many people we have volunteering on our campaign or within our organization. Whether you're a candidate or a volunteer yourself, you have to know how many volunteers are currently helping the campaign, what the goals are to recruit more, so we see where we stand as an organization. The second gauge is donations. Okay, so this is easy to figure out because it's the total deposits in a bank account, right? Donations aren't as important as volunteers in my mind, but they'll be needed to arm our volunteers with proper tools like door hangers, stickers, yard signs, any type of marketing material, anything to make our efforts much easier. So the third gauge is the vote total. So when you take the first two, if we recruit and train more volunteers to go out into the community and we raise enough money to pay for all the tools that we need, it'll increase our vote total. So we must become masters at recruiting and cultivating new volunteers and donors. When we increase the amount of volunteers and donations to a high enough level, we will win. It's very simple, right? It's a very simple and it's an accurate formula. In Robert Greene's book, Mastery, he goes on to tell us how to master any skill, right? He says this: think of it this way. There's two kinds of failure. The first comes from never trying out your idea because you're afraid or because you're waiting for the perfect time. This kind of failure you can never learn from, and such timidity will destroy you. The second comes from a bold and venturesome spirit. If you fail this way, the hit that you take to your reputation is greatly outweighed by what you learn. Repeated failure will toughen your spirit and show you with absolute clarity how things must be done. Okay, so recruiting and cultivating new volunteers and donors is definitely a learned skill. We have to get good at this skill if we're going to win elections, right? So there's 5 steps that I'm kind of outlining here that are related to this skill. Right, so step 1 is opening the conversation. And I want to make sure you write these down. So if you have a notepad or piece of paper, if you don't, go ahead and pause the video, get a piece of paper, write down these steps. Because when you write them down, handwritten, it'll help commit them to memory. Okay, so step one is to open the conversation. This is a relationship building aspect, right? The key to opening a conversation is to find common ground. And at first, it can be common ground related to anything, sports, entertainment, whatever. But eventually, it needs to be common ground that's related to politics, government, or humanity. Right? And it's really easy to do that if you're working a booth or knocking on doors in your precinct representing a campaign or the Libertarian Party. But the conversation needs to get over to political activism and then finding common ground on an issue that we agree upon. It's so important to find an issue that we agree upon so we can relate to each other. Right? We're starting to build the relationship and solidify that. Step two is to share our why. This is our inner reason as to why we're active in politics or why we care about a certain issue, right? And then after you tell them your why, you ask them why they care about that certain issue, and they'll tell you why. And we have to keep asking and get down until it relates to one of these three themes as far as our emotions go, because all of the reasons why usually go back to these three themes. Okay, so one is personal benefit, and personal benefit means, hey, I want to lower taxes so I can keep more money for my family, for my future, for my children's future, right? It's a personal benefit. When taxes are lowered, we keep more of our money, right? Another underlying theme would be like a sense of justice. Okay, so they want to end the war on drugs because they know someone in their family or one of their friends is now locked in a cage, right? Because for using a substance, but they never hurt anyone else, right? Or they see police brutality going on around the country and it makes them sick inside knowing that their government is doing this. There's these unjust laws being enacted, unjust actions from our government, and they want to fix it. So that sense of justice. And then the final one is leaving a legacy. Okay, so they want to leave the world in a better position with more liberty than how they inherited it. All right, so I understand that we're not personally responsible for the poor state of our government, right? But we are now taking action and taking responsibility to fix it. So that's what leaving a legacy looks like. Now, step three is to share our vision, right? Getting us elected into office will help us solve or fix whatever issue they brought up. Helping us out will help them relieve their sense of justice or personal benefit or leaving a legacy. So we've got to relate the two, how they can fulfill this deep desire to be something bigger than themselves and how helping us will allow them to achieve that. So we have to tell them that we have a long-term vision with short-term goals, and as long as we keep moving forward, we will win. And that's the truth. As long as we keep pushing forward and keep recruiting people, we will eventually win. And then step four is to ask them for help, right? It's really simple. Would you be interested in helping us succeed? Now, there's a couple responses that they'll give: a no, maybe, what do you need? Or yes, what do you need? Or yes, I'll do anything. Just, sign me up. Right? So you have to make sure you have their contact info for following up, right? And proper follow-up is another important skill that must be learned. However, there's another training video that's going to come out for that specific issue. So step one, find common ground. Step two, find out their why. Share your why and find out their why. Step three is to share our vision. And then step four is to ask them for help. Now, step five is repeat. Find someone else, repeat this process. So over and over again. Back to mastery. Okay, so the more we practice this skill of recruiting and cultivating new activists, the sooner we will succeed in electing libertarians to office. Okay, so the more people we go out and talk to, the better we're going to get at this skill. The better we're going to be able to relate to people, to find their whys quickly, and to get them committed to what we're doing. So there's going to be a learning curve in the beginning. Now, the first 20 hours, when you start learning a new skill, is where you're going to learn and reach basic proficiency with the first 20 hours. But I'm talking about 20 hours of focused practice, okay? So we need to get started taking action. Right now, there are going to be questions that we don't always know the answers to, and there's going to be people we come in contact with that we will never have a chance at recruiting them. But it's all about getting the right amount of practice so we've learned the skill, and it's about connecting with people who are like-minded. And I'm going to explain more about that right now, how we're not going out to try to convince people. We're going out to identify people who already think like we do. So there's a saying, SW, 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 SW. Okay, our job is to move through the people who won't join us and find the ones who will join us. So SW, 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 SW. Some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting. There are people out there who think like we do, who want to make a positive difference. We just need to make the connection and then show them how. I meet these people all the time at events, and it's awesome. They're out there. We just have to go out and find them. Okay, so the solution to pollution is dilution. Here's a little secret on how we can win, okay? You may have heard this before. You may not have, but I'm going to explain it right now. So I'm going to use one of our candidates from Washington State. His name is Chris Rockhold, and he was running for state representative in District 17. And he had a Republican and a Democrat opponent. So this is what District 17 looks like. There's approximately 136,000 people in the district. Of those people, 78,000 are registered to vote. So the Republican in the race, he got 50% of the vote. A little over 10,000 votes. The Democrat got 8,000 votes at 39%. And Libertarian Chris Rockhold got 10% of the vote, 2,100 votes, okay, with total votes cast at 21,000. So as we look at the total population, 136,000 approximately in the district, approximately 40,000 are under 18, therefore uneligible to vote. So with the total population of potential voters at 95,000 minus the vote cast, that leaves 73,800 available votes. So for us to be successful in this election, we should be focusing on recruiting an additional 8,300 people to vote Libertarian out of the available 73,000 votes. We should be focusing on the people who are not registered to vote, the ones who did not come out to vote, because the ones who did come out to vote for the Republican or the Democrat, those are usually super voters. Those are people who are already committed to that party. We need to go out and find the unaffiliated voters, the disaffected voters. Those are the people who we should be talking to. So, 8,300 people may look like a lot. I'm going to use a little scenario here, and this is a hypothetical. And this is if in a perfect scenario, okay, I understand that it doesn't always work out perfect, but in a perfect scenario here, if I go out and recruit 2 new people this month, and then I teach them to recruit 2 people, and so on, every single month duplicates by 2 more people each person, you're looking at, after month 7, 128 people. But what's really awesome is that when you get down to month 13, you're almost there at the 8,300 vote mark, right? In month 13, we almost reached the number that we would need. Now, this is obviously in a perfect situation, but we have to realize that some people will recruit 50 others to join us, and some people won't recruit anyone else. So the point here is to just take action. Even if it takes 3 years for this to play out, is it worth it? Is success worth the effort? And I believe it is. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. Now, many people believe that there are 2 paths to accomplishing a goal and becoming successful, right? You have one path that leads to success and the other path that leads to failure. However, this is not an accurate way to describe the path to success. The path to success actually looks like this. The accurate way to understand it is that there will be many small failures or mistakes along this path that we are meant to learn from. So when a similar situation comes up in the future, we can identify it, avoid it, fix it. We're able to reach our goals faster by failing faster. It's a great quote from Michael Jordan that sums it up. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. So fear and rejection are usually the only things holding us back from success in our personal lives and anything, really. There's another training on overcoming fear and rejection that goes in depth in the skill of overcoming rejection that, if applied correctly, can add 10 times to our productivity. But right now, we're not talking about, attempting to change anyone's mind or change their political philosophy. What we're looking to do is identify people who already think like we do. Okay, let's break it down. It's a numbers game, law of averages. According to a recent Reason Root poll from 2011, around 24% of Americans are philosophical libertarians. Okay, now there's a few polls that are recent, putting our numbers around the 30% range, but I'll stick with this 24% number in this scenario. So these are people who want less government interference in the economy, and they do not want government to favor any particular set of values. So fiscally responsible, socially accepting, right? And we're looking to identify one of these ideas in the people that we're talking with. Okay, we're not looking to change anyone's minds. 1 in 4 people already agree with us on a basic level. Those are the ones we're searching for. So I don't share my thoughts because I think it will change the minds of people who think differently. I share my thoughts to show the people who already think like me that they are not alone. And that's what we're doing. We need to just identify others who think like we do, bring them in and repeat. Teach them this process, get them on board, get them committed with what we're doing. So then going back to the 5 steps, right? We're just going to cover it one more time. The video's almost done. Step 1, opening the conversation. Find a common ground relating to politics, government, or humanity. You want to share your personal why. For me, that's my son. That's my younger brothers. Creating a country and an economy that's thriving, that's prosperous, right? For them and myself in the future, right? Leaving that legacy. That's what it's all about. So share your why, find out their why. Step 3 is to share our vision, right? We have a long-term vision with short-term goals, and as long as we keep moving forward, we will win. Step 4, ask for help, right? Some people call this closing the deal. I call it opening the relationship, right? Would you be interested in helping us win? And then step 5 is to repeat. Now, this was part 1. There's going to be a part 2, cultivating new volunteers and donors. We're going to focus on follow-up, right? This is after you got them to sign up, you got their email and their phone number, what to do next. So that video is coming up. If you have any questions or need any help, feel free to shoot me an email, michaelpickens@libertarianleadership.org. And I want you to understand that there are many aspects to recruiting new volunteers and donors. I just wanted to get us started with this video because once we get started, we can figure out the rest along the way. There's a lot of learning that comes from experience, from just taking action, from going out and talking to people. So I'm going to leave you with one quote. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy, not on fighting the old, but on building the new. Go out there and recruit some new libertarians. Thank you so much for watching, and see you on the next video.